Imagine a world by 2050 where the rivers that once sustained civilizations run dry, glaciers that fed millions have melted away, and nations no longer wage wars with bombs but with drought, damming, and water control. Water has become the new battleground, rivers, glaciers, watersheds, all contested. This is not a dystopian fantasy. It is the emerging logic of conflict in a warming world. Over the next hour, we will walk through the science and drivers of water stress, the geopolitical flashpoints of river basins and glacier melt, scenario projections of water wars by mid-century, case studies of existing water tensions, and finally possible pathways for peace and resilience. Because how humanity handles water in the next decades may decide whether conflict or cooperation dominates. Number 1. Water as a strategic resource, why it matters. Water is fundamental. Food production, human health, energy, industry, ecosystems, everything depends on freshwater. But freshwater is finite, unevenly distributed, and under pressure. 3 major trends are tightening the noose. Population growth and urbanization, more people require more water. Climate change, precipitation patterns shift, glaciers retreat, snowpack shrinks, and droughts intensify. Rising demand for water-intensive sectors, agriculture, energy production, industry all compete for the same resource. Conflicts over water are already happening. The water conflict chronology lists over 1,600 incidents since millennia past, with most in the last decades. The size analysis notes that water-related conflicts have surged globally between 2012 to 2021, 4 times more water conflicts occurred compared to 2000 to 2011. Still, water scarcity itself rarely triggers full-scale war. According to a study in Preventing and Resolving Conflicts Before They Boil Over, water scarcity is often a threat multiplier rather than a sole cause. Socio-political grievances, governance failures, inequality, and resource mismanagement play central roles. That said, transboundary river basins are especially vulnerable. With over 260 shared river basins across the world, conflicts over upstream diversion, damming, and flow management are inevitable. One study modeling conflict risk in transboundary basins projects that by mid-century, many river basins will see heightened tension zones due to climate-driven stress and governance challenges. So, water is strategic. Control of rivers and glaciers means control over life, power, and stability. Number 2. Glaciers, water towers, and melting threats. In many mountainous regions, glaciers act as water towers, storing winter snow and releasing melt during dry seasons. For billions downstream, they are lifelines. The 2025 UN World Water Development Report emphasizes the role of mountains and glaciers as critical freshwater sources that are under accelerating threat. But the retreat is happening fast. The Guardian recently warned that the rapid melting of glaciers threatens water and food supply for up to 2 billion people globally. In Europe, glacier volume in the Alps and Pyrenees has fallen by roughly 40% since 2000. Particularly in Asia, Himalayan and Tibetan glaciers feed major rivers: Indus, Ganges, Brahmaputra, Mekong, Yangtze, Yellow. Many climate models predict substantial shrinkage by 2050, reducing summer melt and river flows, especially during dry months. One report suggests that up to 1/3 of Himalayan glaciers may vanish by the end of the century if warming continues. When glaciers shrink, 2 key dangers emerge. Reduced baseflow in rivers during dry periods, crippling agriculture and supply. Glacial lake outburst floods, GLOF's sudden catastrophic releases when meltwater lakes breach their moraine walls, causing floods downstream. Moreover, glacier decline changes the timing and seasonality of flow. What used to be predictable meltwater becomes erratic flows, making planning harder. Thus, glacier melt amplifies water stress, especially in regions already on the edge. Number 3. Geopolitical flashpoints and basin rivalries. Let's zoom into conflict zones and basins already simmering with tension. Nile Basin, Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan. Ethiopia's Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD, has triggered fierce opposition from downstream Egypt and Sudan, fearing reduced flows. Upstream dam control equates to leverage. Indus Basin, India and Pakistan. The Indus Waters Treaty has long regulated water sharing. Still, increasing dam projects and drought tension strain the treaty. Brahmaputra/Yarlung Tsangpa, China, India, Bangladesh. China's upstream dam projects in Tibet give it significant control over downstream flows to India and Bangladesh.
The river is central to agriculture in Assam, Bangladesh Delta regions. Researchers call it a socio-political conundrum.
Mekong River Basin, China, Southeast Asia. China's upstream dams influence flow downstream to Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, affecting fisheries, sediment, and livelihoods. Jordan and Israel/Jordan River Basin. Water scarcity in the Middle East is already a source of tension and cooperation. Central Asia and Amu Darya/Sir Darya. Glacial melt from the Pamirs feeds the Vakh, which contributes to Amu Darya, vital for agriculture in Tajikistan, Uzbekistan. Mapping studies reveal that many basins projected to become flashpoints are mountain-fed and already stressed by climate change and governance deficits. In many of these zones, upstream countries have physical control of flows, technology, dam infrastructure, making downstream states vulnerable to coercion.
Number 4. Scenario Projections, Water Wars 2050. Let's imagine multiple scenario trajectories toward 2050, what water wars could look like. Scenario A: hydrodamming and water weaponization. As drought worsens, upstream countries begin constructing dams and withholding water intentionally to exert political pressure. Downstream states retaliate with diplomatic or covert sabotage, or even threaten use of force. Scenario B: glacier collapse and systemic failure. Sudden glacier melt or GLOF destroys infrastructure. Downstream, water supply crashes. Agriculture fails and mass migration begins, fueling internal instability and external pressure. Scenario C: multi-river conflict cascading. A severe drought in multiple basins triggers simultaneous water stress. Countries shift resources from cooperative frameworks to competition. Regional blocks form to control headwaters or divert flows. Scenario D: internal water wars. Within large countries, states/regions rebel over water access. Central governments divert water to core areas, leaving peripheries dry. This can lead to internal insurgencies and then international spillover. These scenarios are not hypothetical, they are informed by climate, hydrological, and geopolitical modeling increasingly published. Number 5. Case studies, existing tensions and conflicts. Let's look at real-world examples and lessons. In Mexico, farmers in La Baquila Dam dispute with the government sparked armed confrontations over water diversion. In Cameroon, clashes between fishers and herders over control of water points have led to violent incidents. In the Nile Basin, annual disagreements over dam filling timing regularly bring diplomatic crises. In South Asia, treaty quarrels, data sharing issues, low flow years, and monsoon failures trigger flash conflicts. In Central Asia, conflicts over transboundary water and glacial melt are already impacting downstream irrigation and hydropower prospects. These conflicts reinforce that water competition is already baked into many geopolitics, not waiting for 2050. Number 6. Barriers to cooperation and drivers of conflict. Why do many water-rich states fail to cooperate? Some barriers. Power asymmetry: upstream states have disproportionate control over headwaters. Lack of data transparency/hydrological modeling asymmetry: downstream states lack real-time flow data. Weak institutions or treaty enforcement: legal agreements exist, e.g. international water conventions, but enforcement is limited. Domestic politics and nationalism: politicians gain by blaming others for water scarcity, retaliation is political theater. Short-term crisis thinking versus long-term planning: governments prioritize urgency over cooperation. Climate uncertainty and tipping points: unpredictable changes breed mistrust and fear. Yet, some drivers push toward collaboration. Shared dependency: downstream nations cannot survive if headwaters dry. Cost-sharing incentives: joint infrastructure and hydropower can benefit all. Multilateral frameworks and mediation bodies. International pressure, climate finance, and donor leverage. Number 7. Pathways to peace and resilience. If water wars are to be averted, here are essential strategies. Water diplomacy and treaties: strengthen and modernize agreements, integrate climate resilience, transparency, and real-time data sharing. Joint basin institutions and management: cooperative governance bodies, equitable decision-making, multi-stakeholder inclusion. Technological solutions: desalination, wastewater recycling, efficient irrigation, cloud seeding, water-saving agriculture.
Glacier and watershed restoration, reforestation, preservation of upstream ecosystems to slow melt and improve retention. Conflict early warning systems, hydrological and climate forecasts integrated into security planning. International financial incentives and aid, climate funds devoted to transboundary water cooperation. Legal and normative frameworks, strengthening international law, e.g. UN Watercourses Convention, with binding mechanisms. While challenging, many places already show hope: Nile Basin Initiative, Mekong River Commission, cooperation around Jordan River, and smaller local water-sharing pacts. Number 8. The stakes for humanity. If we fail, food systems collapse in river-fed agricultural belts. Major migrations of climate refugees. Interstate conflicts and instability. Ecological collapse, wetlands dry, species extinct, desertification spreads. Economic disruption, supply chains, energy, industry all impacted. But if we succeed, shared prosperity, stable regions, climate adaptation. Water as a bridge for collaboration, not conflict. Resilient systems that protect all populations. Let the question linger: will we manage water through war or through wisdom?